Bro, that motherfucker just come from jail for stealing the people, and now is presidente again. Oh my God. Bro, listen, unless you're a fucking psychotic Bolsonaro supporter, this notion that Lula is a fucking criminal is a silly one. Please, bro, we are not in like 2016, okay? Why are you still saying these things? Is it because they are like, you're living in the past, brother? We already know that he literally was acquitted, okay? They took him out of prison, and they openly stated that the guy who fucking put him in prison was a Bolsonaro supporter who colluded with the fucking prosecution to jail him. It's fucking insane. He is not a criminal, dude. What the fuck? He was unjustifiably jailed. And there's so many dumb motherfuckers who are running with this shit. Could you explain the criminal Lula acquittal situation? Most of Latino America believes he's a criminal. Dude, it is crazy. In response to Lula winning, truck drivers are blocking the highways and refusing to work. These motherfuckers can't even take a loss, and now we might have a shortage of supplies in the next few weeks if things escalate. Turns out the right wing don't like law and order when someone is acquitted. It just doesn't make sense. They put him in jail for like the lightest of goddamn charges they could fucking possibly find in a country that is so goddamn corrupt to the fucking bone. Okay? He was deeply popular. He was still popular even in jail. The reason why this is a continuing fucking narrative is because right-wing memers are blasting it and continues to say like he's a criminal, he's a criminal, he's a criminal, he's a criminal. And then also Western propaganda, despite the fact that Western leadership is actually very supportive of Lula overall, let's be real, okay? They are. Like Joe Biden immediately said, congratulations to Lula for winning. This motherfucker went to jail unjustifiably, okay, and unjustly by Bolsonaro and Bolsonaro allies, and they still, like, people are still going, oh my God, he's such a criminal. Meanwhile, the streets of Brazil are lit, okay? People are celebrating. I've got a Brazilian coworker who says Brazil under Lula was the most graft since the Roman Empire, but his family owns a ranch in Brazil, so I think I understand his POV. Yeah. Anyway, don't even, I know that the meme, the meta is to say Lula is a thief. He stole my heart. He is a criminal. He stole my heart. But like, I don't even know if that's the best way to counter it, because clearly like there's a lot of staying power. Okay. Bolsonaristas are crying and praying away their loss to Lula. This is awesome. Like, what are you doing, little guy? What's going on? Do you even have any idea what's happening? The judge who ruled Lula's case became the Bolsonaro justice minister. I know. And you know, Bolsonaro didn't even show up to talk to them. I know. They didn't even do that. Bolsonaro didn't even give them the dignity to you know, talk to them and be like, hey, I know we lost, but like we'll win again or whatever. He just fucking hid in the palace, and his wife unfollowed him on the day of his major L. And then now he's just potentially plotting a coup, maybe? Who knows? Here in LATAM, the propaganda is insane. They say Lula is a criminal. AMLO is a socialist. Lol, imagine. Even though he's a neolib, and Evo is a dictator. A lot of people believe these lies. Yeah. Box's vid on Lula's history, if you haven't already watched on stream. We did watch this on stream. It was terrible. It basically doesn't even cover the accusations and how they were falsified. And Sergio Moro, the judge from Lula's court, he was a Bolsonaro justice minister and fought with him because Bolsonaro controlled the federal police to save his ass, and his sons dismantled completely the car wash operations, but they came together again in the second turn in the most shameless way. I thought Lula was a sock them at least. No, he is. People in Latam take accusations of corruption very seriously and hold them above all else. Yeah, the irony is Latin American governments are insanely fucking corrupt, okay? Left, right, doesn't matter. There's so much fucking corruption happening in Latin American countries, in Latin American governments, and Lula, ironically, is is less corrupt than like 90% of Brazilian politicians, and they still jailed him in what I would consider to be the most corrupt way. That's the irony. The irony is that not only was Lula significantly less corrupt than most other fucking Brazilian politicians, he literally was jailed. You don't know that? What do you mean? Yes, I do. I live in 2022. He's out of jail. He just became the president. How do you think that happened? I don't understand it. No, Emil's not a socialist, dude. What the fuck? He said he claims he is, but like not really. Talking about corruptions in Latin American governments when you literally live in the US. Brother, corruption in Latin American governments is also US backed. What the fuck are you talking about? Anyway. Anyway. Let's see. In the electric trio, they ask for prayer for God to intervene in the TSC and say they will not accept fraudulent election at the expense of fake news and judicial interference. Projection, by the way. I love the fucking copium and the projection coming from the right here on this issue. Okay? Specifically because like they literally do fake news. Part of the fake news is saying that, Lula is a criminal. These are the anti-vaxxers, okay? These are the anti-vaxxers. These are the people who, like, unironically spread so much fucking fake news. Not only that, but also, they also engaged in election interference. They engaged in voter suppression in northern territories where Lula is more popular. It's the exact same shit that we do. Our hogs are like identical to their hogs. They also say they will wait for Bolsonaro to make a statement before leaving the Esplanade. Electric Trio, which was announcing percentages every 10 minutes, refuses to announce that Lula is elected president and Bolsonaro has been defeated, but Bolsonaristas already know.
Pois vamos aguardar aqui juntos o pronunciamento e a orientação do nosso presidente.
And for people who are saying, like, why is the CIA not intervening if they think, fucking Bolsonaro was good, or that Lula was bad or whatever. I think that realistically, a lot of the left wing movement that you've seen in Latin American countries as of late are otherwise inoffensive to American hegemony. Like, I want to believe that they're actually like there's a robust coalition out there or anything like that. But I think that they just don't, like, it's not as disruptive as it once was. Either the CIA does not have the same bandwidth it once did, or I think that they just think that you can still operate within the boundaries of Western hegemonic status. The PT's government was the biggest increase in against corruption with big laws, and they interfered in less in the federal police, so much that Dilma was kicked out because she didn't stop the car wash. They didn't even full impeachment her, knowing how bullshit it was. Any idea why they're linking Lula with criminal organizations? I mean, what do you mean? Liberal media in Brazil, just like everywhere else, is hyper anti-left, okay? So they've been pumping. What? Evil defeated good? If you don't understand that as a colonizer, then you can shut your mouth. You will never understand the pain that Brazil feels at this moment. We are destroyed. What? Evil defeated good? Unfollowing for several minutes? What the fuck? Are you okay? You're a 4-month subscriber. There's no fucking shot that you unironically are like a Bolsonaro supporter. There's no way. How is this person? I think they're just trolling, right? There's no fucking way they're being serious. I was joking. Oh, okay. Jesus Christ. Bolsonaro didn't survive 15 bouts of COVID to lose this election. Hashtag recount. Stop. Do you see this insane thread saying criminals and cartels are celebrating the... Dude, narco traffickers celebrating the election of corrupt ex-convict leftist Lula da Silva as president of Brazil. Dude, they're making him look so badass, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, Lula came out of prison looking like fucking Iroh. You know what I mean? That's my favorite meme. Someone needs to make that if you don't have that. Look. Lula coming out of prison, okay? Uncle Iroh coming out of prison. Ironic because it's the exact same, okay? 258 days in prison and this motherfucker came out like that. Bending fire, okay? Rishi Sunak in a major crisis is deeply unhappy. Tory MPs are already drafting letters of no confidence in him. That's awesome. The Tory party is falling apart. It's great. No, that photo isn't real. That photo is not actually him. Come on, bro. Chill. Like, obviously, that's not real. Real photo, though. I mean, he is hot. Look at his legs, bro. Look at how vascular and how big his legs are. And he's got a fat one too. Kind of bricked up. Dude, you know what the funniest part about this conversation is? Because Brazilian politics is so similar and like so baby America that like whenever I'm talking about Brazilian politics, it almost feels like I'm talking about American politics while we're simultaneously addressing like for the 700th time, and this started literally yesterday, that Lula is not corrupt or a criminal because television man told you so for years and years. The irony is, like, we have this exact same shit happening in America in our backyard with, like, Republicans saying that DePipe was a male prostitute and Paul Pelosi was having homosexual sex with this male prostitute. It's just the same brain rot in every fucking avenue. In every corner is the exact same, okay? Fascists are great at tearing down people who are actually good in power, but when the time comes to be in charge, they show that they share one brain cell that died in a bunker in 1945. We covered, is Lula Bernie or is he more like Biden? Oh, he's definitely closer to Bernie than Biden. For sure. Are we getting any crime on the broadcast today? Big cold case from 2017. Delphi murders had a major development. I literally banned a chatter who's been screaming about the Delphi murders earlier today. Have you seen that Bolsonaro and Michelle, his now ex-wife, were covering up their marriage for 2 years now after losing yesterday? She unfollowed him on Instagram, tarnished and maidenless. Yeah, I know. He took major L's, dude. I mean, look at what MAGA country is saying. They have the same speech as they did for the U.S. elections. Brazilian military insider contacts. Lula will win the election because they stole it as usual. Bolsonaro will wait to receive reports of the election results plus all the evidence of fraud. This is exactly the same as America, except the only difference is the Brazilian government has a closer history to a military takeover and a military dictatorship than the American government does. Okay, it's viable, and also almost 50% of the country voted for a guy who had time and time again said that military dictatorship in Brazil is far more preferable. So there's definitely some differences there because they have more mobilization than the American hogs do, because American hogs are only mad about fucking Applebee's and jalapeno poppers. But they don't have the organizational capacity that like Brazilian fascists do. So this could be a little bit more dangerous than, America. Okay. Al Jazeera
Let's
on
talk
the lead
about the
Here.
race to become Brazil's next president. It's a contest that really comes down to just two men. The current president, Jair Bolsonaro.
Okay, thank you.
He is seen as the Trump of the tropics.
And former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva.
Ole, 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 ole. Lula, Lula.
That's so funny. Okay, Brazilians are Turks too, straight up. Brazilians are also Turks.
Both the most loved and the most hated politician in Brazil, maybe seconded by Jair Bolsonaro.
Lula's ahead in the polls. And the big question...
No. I hate the fucking analysts that talk about Brazil in terms like this, bro. I hate it. Their analysis is always like... Their analysis is so libbed up. I hate that shit. Think about it from the frame... Americans, Westerners... Think about this from the same framework as though you were listening to BBC talk about Corbyn or you're listening to MSNBC talking about Bernie Sanders, okay? Understand that this moral equivalency or even this analysis that makes it seem like these guys are, equivalent or makes it seem like these guys are both equally fucking hated. Now, Al Jazeera is pretty good, but the analysts that they're tapping into are still going to be libbed up. Okay? So understand that whenever they talk about people like Lula, it's the exact same kind of coverage. Liberal media that maintains this like center-right attitude and genuine disdain for the left is always going to engage in this propaganda operation to tarnish and destroy and disrespect viable leftist candidates. That is precisely what's happening here, okay? That is what happened for the past 10 years, and that's the reason why. That is the reason why there's so many people who are still to this day going, oh my God, Lula is actually so corrupt. The fucking cartels are celebrating his win or whatever the fuck. Anyway.
Question is whether he can win outright in the first round. He'll need more than 50% of votes to do that, or it'll go to a second round runoff. And if Bolsonaro loses, it doesn't look like he'll go quietly.
Não é uma luta da esquerda contra a direita. É uma luta do bem contra o mal. E nós vamos vencer essa luta.
He's already been talking about election fraud.
Bolsonaro has challenged the very validity of the electoral process. He keeps flirting with a coup. Sometimes he says it explicitly, sometimes he just hints at it.
So who are these two rivals? And why are Brazilians so divided over them? In some ways, Bolsonaro and Lula represent a right versus left-wing rivalry, but there's also so much more going on. And a good place to start is the early 2000s. Lula became president in 2003 and served 2 terms until 2010. He was a former union leader and Brazil's first working-class president. It was a time when the economy was booming, and for a lot of Brazilians, life got better.
There was the commodities super cycle that made a lot of dollars come to Brazil. His administration also did a lot of measures to protect low-income families.
Lula left office with an 83% approval rating. The next president, Dilma Rousseff, was from the same workers' party, the PT, and was seen as Lula's handpicked successor.
President Rousseff, Dilma Rousseff, was enjoying pretty high approval rates at the time, and all of a sudden Brazil went into this long turmoil. And one of the big questions that many people ask is, what happened to Brazil after 2013?
Well, a couple of big things happened. First, the economy turned. There was a recession, people were losing their jobs, and prices were going up. And then there was Operation Car Wash, what became a huge corruption investigation that went on for years. It basically uncovered a multi-billion-dollar money laundering and bribery scheme linked to the state-run oil company Petrobras.
They revealed during the car wash operation that there was an involvement of pretty much every single major political party in Brazil with corruption scandals.
That included Lula himself. In 2017, he was convicted of money laundering and corruption and ended up with a 12-year prison sentence, although he was released after about 18 months. Lula maintained he'd done nothing wrong and that all the charges were politically motivated. And by the way, the Supreme Court later annulled his conviction.
I wonder why, dude. That's crazy. How did that happen? How the fuck did that happen, dude? It's because, I guess it's because he was, fucking, what's his face? Bolsonaro was like a really big, criminal justice rehabilitation guy, you know? Of course, obviously, the United States would never be involved in such things in Brazil. The FBI released an interview with the Pelosi attacker. Oh my God, that's awesome. We'll definitely look at that.
So let's look at the last presidential election in 2018. It was a really messy time in Brazil. The economy was recovering from a deep recession, the corruption scandal was going strong, and violent crime was on the rise. And that's where Jair Bolsonaro comes in. He's a former army captain who became a member of Congress in 1990. He wasn't really a political heavyweight, but
he was literally a torturer too, and has talked fondly about torturing.
He got a lot of attention for making statements like this.
Eu sou favorável à tortura, tu sabe disso.
Oh yeah, there you go. He said, I'm pro-torture, you know this, and the people are
E
too.
o povo é favorável a isso também.
Maria do Rosário, fica. Há poucos dias tu me chamou de estuprador.
He's gonna say, I would never rape you, you're too ugly for me to rape you.
No Salão Verde, e eu falei que não ia estuprar você
I said I wouldn't rape you because you don't deserve it.
porque você não merece. Fica aqui para ouvir. Eu quero uma polícia civil e militar.
I want a civil police force and military to defend the people and that shoot to kill.
Que defesa do povo.
I didn't pre-watch. This is last time, bro. Brazilians listened to this man and said, that's my fucking guy. You understand? He was dishonorably discharged for trying to bomb military quarters. Bro, I'm telling you right now, this guy literally was like, he was saying all this shit. And people were like, oh my God, that's so wonderful. I love that. And this guy goes, so would you if crime was that high? Bro, no, I wouldn't. You know why? Because I'm not some fucking suburbia living liberal who is deeply terrified of fucking living in an urban city, an urban environment, okay? I have a 3-inch dick. Yeah, we know already. The only way to solve crime is through solving the socioeconomic conditions that create crime. We've been over this a million times, okay?
Now, he ran for president in 2018 on a platform all about making Brazil great again. He was up against Lula, who was campaigning from jail.
Come to Brazil and try to solve it like that, lol. Hey, you dumb bitch. I don't have to do that because Lula's there. And part of his appeal for a very long time was literally that. His anti-poverty initiatives were so profoundly popular. So profoundly popular that 10 years of fucking counter Lula propaganda by liberal media and also, Bolsonaro's regime jailing him still didn't hurt his fucking chances of becoming the president. He's president again. Why? Because that's what happens. People don't fucking forget. When your parents and your grandparents were lifted out of poverty as a consequence of where they were able to get food on their table, where they were able to get electricity, okay, after a brutal fucking dictatorship, all of a sudden, that's the kind of life-changing improvements that they're not going to fucking forget. There's a reason why even fucking Chavez in a country like Venezuela still has a gigantic amount of supporters. Chavistas are the only reason why Maduro ever even maintained his power in the country. Do you get it? Despite the many coup attempts. Why? Because people don't forget. When you teach them how to fucking read, when you improve the literacy rate, when you give them food, when you give them shelter, when you put roads in their fucking otherwise impoverished neighborhoods, they don't forget that. Okay? Chavez's policies were so fucking overwhelmingly popular with an otherwise silent group of people that you will never hear from in Western media that they even got Maduro, okay? That lifted Maduro up, okay? And he's not exactly great.
Until he was barred at the last minute. And Bolsonaro won.
Bolsonaro seemed to be as early as 2016 or 17, the man who embodied all the frustration and all the bad blood that was going around Brazil at the time. And his platform was music to many people's ears at that point. So he would say that he was an anti-system candidate. He was fighting corruption.
He has mastered political communication on social media.
The only reason why he was able to do this, by the way, the only reason why he was able to do this is because he, as a fascist, took advantage of anti-socialist liberals, okay? A lot of wealthy people who control the media in Brazil, just like in the United States of America, were interested in advancing capital interests. If you want to advance capital interests in a country, you have to destroy and vilify and turn into the enemy every single viable leftist candidate, because leftist policies are anti-capital, okay? So you do that with a non-stop disinformation campaign. You do that by basically chipping away at the popularity of popular figures, okay? And you do, and by the way, Lula is not even a fucking like full-blown out and about socialist, but he's definitely a trade unionist. He's like a big, he's always been a fucking pro-union guy. And also he has regularly spoken out against America's imperialist attitude towards countries like Iran and shit, but not to a certain, not to such a degree that like I think the American State Department considers him to be an enemy. I think they personally, judging by what the Democratic Party has come out with so far, okay, it doesn't seem like they are too afraid of him, like to a degree that they would Salvador Allende his ass in the same way that they've done time and time again. Yes, he is pro-Palestine, yes.
Media like no one else in Brazil, especially no one on the left. And he has successfully shaped a lot of conversations in the country. That's what allowed him to go from backbencher to a competitive presidential candidate to being the president.
Yeah, I love Bolsonaro, the anti-system candidate, despite being a congressperson for 30 plus years and military before then. Okay. Like, it's just like Donald Trump running around being like, I'm against the wealthy. Owning our politicians is like, bro, you did that though. Like, you literally did that. The fuck are you talking about? You are a billionaire. You are the system. You are more, when you're a billionaire, you are more the system than politicians are, because politicians serve you and your interests. But of course, you know, try explaining that to some fucking idiot, okay? No, you can't do that.
Now, some Brazilians look back at the last 4 years of Bolsonaro as president and see disaster. Many blame him for not taking COVID seriously. More than 680,000 Brazilians died, the second highest death toll in the world.
The highest. I can't remember who was. Oh, that's right. This is also the other reason. This is also the other reason why I'm saying, like, we're number one, baby. We're number one. Brazil tries to be the United States so bad. Brazil wants to be Cardi, but they can't, okay? Bolsonaro wants to be Trump, but he can't do it. He can't be Trump.
Then there's his environmental record. Deforestation has accelerated under Bolsonaro, and he's rejected the idea that Brazil has any special role to play in the fight against climate change.
É uma falácia dizer que a Amazônia é patrimônio da humanidade.
He said it's a fallacy to say that the Amazon is the heritage of humankind.
E equívoco, como a terra.
And a misconception confirmed by scientists to say that our Amazon forests
afirmar que a Amazônia
are
Nossa floresta
are under
é o
attack, or
pulmão
are
do
the
mundo.
lungs of the world,
then
I
there's-
guess. Yeah, are the lungs of the world. Oh, that's so sick. I love that. He's like, no, dude, you guys don't understand. It's actually super sick that I'm destroying the Amazon. I mean, he's right, though. You're right, brother. He is right. Fuck the Amazon forest, brother. You're right. Fuck them trees, dog. No, you're right. Fuck them trees.
The accusation that Bolsonaro has deliberately weakened state
It's so dumb. Who needs oxygen? Honestly, who the fuck needs oxygen? I'm sick and tired of what Mr. Beast is doing too. Like, oh, wow, super sick, bro. You want to plant trees? How about you plant bitches, okay? How about that? Couldn't be me. What are you, a fucking baby, dude? You need oxygen to breathe? Me? I'm running on fucking carbon monoxide, okay? Not even carbon dioxide. I'm running on carbon monoxide poisoning, which is precisely why I think that there's ghosts. Ghosts are real now, okay? I've been doing lung training this entire time, okay? Sucking on an exhaust pipe.
state institutions.
Bolsonaro has moved very quickly ever since the very beginning of his tenure to undermine and to hollow out political institutions and bureaucracies, especially those who might put obstacles or limits to the actions of some private interest groups that have supported Bolsonaro from day one.
But a lot of Brazilians really like what Bolsonaro stands for. He's seen as more supportive of the private sector, and he's got a lot of support among people with more conservative social values.
Deus, pátria.
Is always the same shit. God, nation, family, and freedom. And all the fucking capital owners are like, capital owners love, even just, and America as well, love even the slightest hint that you're going to privatize, like nationalize industries. You know what I mean? They come so hard. They love that shit. They love that shit the most, okay? During Lula's first time in office, deforestation of the Amazon fell by 80%. Under Bolsonaro, it surged again. A recent analysis by Carbon Brief shows that Lula's victory could bring deforestation down 89% by the end of the decade. Today's election was crucial for the climate. Dude, this is so bitch made. Straight up, I don't need trees, okay? I don't need trees, and I certainly don't need oxygen to breathe. What? Oh, that's funny. Wait, when are you leaving? I'm talking about Bolsonaro and shit right now. Oh, well, thank you for the coffee, by the way. That was very nice of you.
I didn't even message him. Tell him I didn't even message
Yeah,
him. Communication this morning.
he didn't even let me know. He just got me a cold brew. Yeah. Coffee showed up at the door. He's asking what time checkout is. Yeah, you can get a late checkout, bro. Don't worry about it. Why oxygen if we can have copium? That's what I'm saying, dude. People have bitch-made lungs, okay? I'm a fish man. I don't even need it, okay? I do not need oxygen. I will live under the water. Call me a fish man, okay? Sorry, I've been watching the Arlong Park saga. Yeah, I'm Mr. Arlong, bitch. Fish still breathe oxygen. Shut up! Fuck the O2 tank. I hit the Benjamin. Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. Shut up, nerd. Talking about fucking how fish need oxygen. Like, shut up, dude. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear your fucking fake news, dog.
Família e liberdade. Brasil acima de tudo. Deus acima de todos.
He projects himself as a man of faith, of Christian values, who wants a traditional family, who's against abortion. Those that vote for Bolsonaro.
That abortion flag is so stupid, dude. I love that.
Want people to be talking about gender identity in school. They don't want abortion, definitely. They don't want drugs to be legalized. They'd rather not have gay rights. These people, there are people that believe in this agenda.
So in this election, with Bolsonaro up against Lula, you've got this epic political showdown. Both of them are huge personalities, both are controversial in their own way, and both of them inspire love and hate from different parts of society. But putting the political theater aside,
Yeah, love and hate. Bolsonaro inspires love from the absolute worst pieces of shit piglet hogs you've ever seen. Lula, on the other hand, inspires the working poor, working class people, everyday citizens, okay? And also other marginalized identities, indigenous populations, the LGBTQIA community, you know, working class people. It's just both sides. Who's to say which side is better than the other, you know? I'm in the liberal media, so I can't distinguish between a bunch of piece of shit, psychotic, neck-bearded, mouth-breathing fucking weirdos who want to murder every marginalized community and regular old working poor people, you know? I can't distinguish between one another. It's great.
for a moment. The big issue for most Brazilian voters is the economy, because a lot of people are struggling right now. More than half the population is food insecure, even though Brazil is one of the world's biggest food producers. And prices are going up for food and fuel, just like in many other countries.
Nós sofremos, meu filho, não é brincadeira não. Ela vai pra rua, arruma lá, pede, os amigos ajuda, tudo dá certo.
Tem mês que aperta mais, né? Tem mês que aperta, mas tem a semana que melhora mais e outras vai mais fraca e assim vai.
Economic conditions in Brazil have been extremely challenging, especially for lower income voters who are the majority of the Brazilian population. So that's why the economy is the number one, number two, and number three priority for voters.
So both candidates are trying to convince voters that they're the man to deliver on the economy. Bolsonaro has been pointing out that inflation and unemployment have gone down, and in July he got Congress to approve $7.6 billion in emergency aid. That includes a 50% increase in monthly cash payments for Brazil's poorest until the end of the year. As for Lula,
people conflate the fact that Lula was at best complicit in corruption, okay, with Bolsonaro being an out-and-about fascist, anti-environment bigot directly responsible for thousands of deaths. It's like the most fucked up whataboutism ever, except it's one that we are accustomed to, okay? I mean, Biden is significantly worse than Lula in many respects, okay? Straight up. He is not like Lula at all. Lula is infinitely better. I would say Lula is very close to Bernie Sanders. But people also say awful things to Bernie Sanders and about Bernie Sanders. It's like when people were coming out and claiming that, like, you know, the Goldman Sachs CEO was coming out and claiming and being like, you know, Trump might be like kind of a fascist or whatever. He's kind of racist or whatever. But like if Bernie became the Democratic primary nominee, I think I would probably have to vote for Donald Trump. We do that here as well. Regarding the rainforest, Bolsonaro co-opted anti-imperialist sentiment by saying things like the Amazon belongs to Brazil and the rest of the world shouldn't be making decisions about what they do with it. Yeah, typical.
he's been pushing the message that the economy was much better back when he was president.
O país que eu deixei é país que o povo tem saudade. É o país do emprego. É o país em que o povo tinha o direito de viver dignamente, de cabeça erguida nesse país. E esse país vai voltar.
He's able to tap into people's perception that their lives were better back in 2010. And the fact that is that it was better. People's lives were definitely better.
Se ele entrar, vai ser beleza. Aí a gente vai poder voltar a comer carne. Agora com o Bolsonaro a gente vai voltar a comer pé de frango.
Lula has basically run on the platform, I know how to do stuff, I have done in the past, and I'm not Bolsonaro.
But that works the other way around too, with some people supporting Bolsonaro just because he's not Lula.
There are people who vote for Bolsonaro because they hate Lula. These are people that are furious at the corruption scandals, and they feel that they're now having to...
No, they're not. They're just angry at shapes and colors. They're angry at what they've seen on the television. Okay? They're angry at what they think. Okay? They're angry at what they think is like Lula's doing. That's it. Why? Because liberals have fucking routinely shit on Lula and the left in general. Okay? And there are valid reasons to talk about the corruption. Okay? Within the nationalized with the national the whatever the fucking company's called, the Petro whatever the fuck. So was Lula personally corrupt? No. At most he was complicit in corruption that was happening in his party, Petrobras, Brazil. Why didn't I know the name of that off the top of my head? It's pretty obvious. Okay? But the reason why he was going to jail for 12 years was fucking ridiculous. They tried to tie him with everything. But ultimately, it's the same energy as giving serious coverage to, I don't know, dumbasses in fucking West Virginia, for example, let's say, reading whatever they see on WhatsApp or on Facebook, and getting upset about people shitting in kitty litter boxes, right? Like teenagers shitting in kitty litter boxes, and making that the fucking centerpiece of the political campaign. And then some other foreign outlet covering the news story like, Americans are genuinely upset at Biden for forcing children to take shits and pisses in kitty litter boxes in schools. Like, it's basically that. It's the same exact energy. I think watching Hasan lowers your IQ. Yeah, totally. Also, Bolsonaro's political party from when he won in 2018 had much more responsibility. Yeah, also Bolsonaro is like infinitely more corrupt, but in a way, because he's like Trump, openly and brazenly corrupt, that people find honesty in that corruption, because ultimately people don't care about corruption. They care about whether or not the guy is on their side, ostensibly, okay? And a lot of people, especially evangelicals, psychopathic fucking, vaccine truthers, the far right, the center right, a lot of these people, and of course the middle class, that watches way too much television and is like brainwashed by anti-left liberal propaganda, saw someone like Bolsonaro as a guy who's on their side, because at least he's not Lula, right? But when Bolsonaro is openly and brazenly corrupt, like utilizing the federal police force, the highway patrol, to stop fucking Lula voters from going out and voting, for like he did literally yesterday, okay? They don't consider that to be a bad thing. They consider that to be a good thing, because, hey, those guys are corrupt, but they're corrupt at my behest. You understand? Guy's so honest, he put a 100-year top secret classification on shit regarding his sons. Yeah, he also may or may not have been a cuck.
Pick between a crazy guy and a robber. It's like, which one would I rather have?
A robber.
All of this is creating a really tense election atmosphere. There's even been violence. 2 Lula supporters have been killed by Bolsonaro supporters, and Bolsonaro doesn't seem to be doing much to calm things down. He's been questioning the voting machines and setting up the idea that there could be fraud.
He's trying to sow distrust in the country's electronic voting system, which in almost 30 years has never faced one single credible fraud allegation. And Bolsonaro has swamped the Brazilian public discourse with vitriol. He has portrayed this electoral race as a battle between good and evil.
So there's a lot of nervousness in Brazil. about the state of the country right now and where this election could take things.
What I feel about this election is like there's no hope for the future. It's more of an election like let's avoid falling into a hole. So
Why?
people are.
Why do you feel like that? Why do you feel like Lula is bad? Why are you automatically fucking engaging with anti-Lula sentiment as though it's anywhere near fucking another 4 years or however many years under fucking Bolsonaro? It's crazy. Look, man, here's the reality. If it doesn't impact you, whether or not fucking Lula or Bolsonaro is president, then don't make it seem like either side is genuinely the same. I hate when liberals do this shit. It's like, yeah, it doesn't impact you, so you don't like it. Because Lula's impact will be potentially, hurting your friends that you go to cocktail parties with. You know, the mega elite in Brazil, the super wealthy, or even the upper middle class, okay, who think that they have a vested interest in maintaining a hyper-capitalist psychotic dystopia in Brazil. Or you just don't care if Bolsonaro fucking ruins the Amazon rainforest and continues trying to butcher LGBT people. It just doesn't matter. Brazilian here and live in the southern part of the country where Bolsonaro won the most. Yesterday was crazy. We who voted for Lula wanted to go out in the streets to celebrate our victory, but couldn't do it. We were afraid to do so and get shot or run over by Bolsonaristas. In some towns, they beat people up, and today they're closing roads. Bolsonaro hasn't come out to speak yet. Imagine when he do. We just want this madness to end. Yeah, it's crazy. The interesting part about Lula is that it's not like he was like, let's murder the bankers type socialist. You know what I mean? He wasn't even a socialist. He's a social democrat. Like here, at 33, he's leading the 1979 Steelworkers Union during a fucking military dictatorship, okay? The meeting endorsed the first large-scale 200K worker strike in the country since 1968 after years of repression by the ruling military dictatorship. So he's putting his... he's putting his life on the line this way in a meaningful capacity. But when he's in a position of power, he's like helping out the bankers. You know what I mean? He created a weird center left and leftist coalition that worked. Meanwhile, Bolsonaro, on the other hand, is tapping into some of the most insane, unhinged psychopaths in Brazil and turning otherwise center left people who are brainwashed by liberal propaganda for years and years into psychotic far-righters. No joke, ever since I started following U.S. politics, I get a big sense of deja vu every couple months. We literally copy our country's dumbass shit. I wanted to celebrate yesterday and thought better of it. I live in a Bolsonarista town. Yeah, I mean, Brazil is one of the countries where, like, I think it's a damn near carbon copy. If Democrats wanted to learn anything from Lula or left-leaning victories in Latin America, they would run on things like ending hunger and then actually do that. They don't want to learn much because they don't want to learn much, but just some free advice anyway. Helping people survive is popular. Here we have to continue building power and capacity from the ground up, but just in case this reaches anyone or helps a politician sort this out. Yeah, it's not going to happen. American brain rot is so fucking insane and so permanent that when Joe Brandon did a profoundly popular thing by eliminating student loan debt, right, for $10,000 or $20,000, motherfuckers said that's stealing. That's buying votes. Americans are so permanently brain broken by a genuine disdain that politicians have for the working poor that any kind of popular provision that helps the working class is seen as a negative thing. Like, we are so geared towards being cucked. It is unimaginable to me. Being this cucked is wild.
One of the most stunning political comebacks, Luis Inácio Lula da Silva has been voted in as Brazil's next president. It was a very tight race. The former leftist leader, who served 18 months in prison for corruption charges later annulled, took nearly 51% of the vote. Far-right incumbent Jair Bolsonaro won 49%. Mr. Bolsonaro becomes the first sitting president in Brazil ever to lose re-election. Our South America correspondent Katie Watson reports.
Celebration on the streets of Sao Paulo and a sense of relief. They predicted a tight race, and it was a nail-biter to the very end.
I feel free, relieved, not only for the Brazilian people, but for the whole planet, for the Amazon, for the democracy, for the human rights. So we are very happy.
It's a very divided country, though. There'll be lots of people unhappy.
I gotta pee, I'll be back.
It was a very little difference, the small difference. So we have to be very patient, and we have to leave the anger and the hatred away.
What a comeback for Brazil's president-elect, a man who left power just 12 years ago with a sky-high approval rating, but who then subsequently fell from grace over corruption scandals. Here he is again, Lula 2.0.
It was the hardest campaign of my life. It wasn't man against man, party against party. It was a group of people who love freedom and democracy against authoritarianism.
The noise on the streets filled the silence from Bolsonaro's camp. The speculation was that he went to bed. While voting was largely peaceful, there was a lot of expectation and nerves on Sunday as people cast their ballot. In this unequal country, the divide was clear. Rich and poor, left and right. People had a stark choice to make.
I'm voted for Bolsonaro, of course.
What's the best thing about Bolsonaro? Why do you like Bolsonaro?
I don't agree with him like 100%. I think he has a lot of flaws, but he's a man of God. He has like the right principles. And
bro, this is literally direct Trump. Just instead of him saying Bolsonaro, listen to him say Trump. It's the same. I have heard, this is what I've heard evangelicals say about Trump, dog. The same shit. He's a man of principles, you know, he's a man of God. Like, you know, how he said he was vibing with a 14-year-old girl who he found attractive. You know? The police in Sao Paulo legit said that they were allowing whichever party won to have their party on the street. Basically, whoever lost had to stay the fuck away so there wouldn't be fights. It's funny because Bolsonaristas assume the cops will always be on their side like in America, but Brazil's institutions haven't rotted away into that level of police state yet. Probably because we don't have a two-party system. I mean, that's a definitely regional thing. That's 100% a regional thing. There's no shot that that is the case, especially because Bolsonaro still very much controls the federal police, for example. Like you're talking about a country where yesterday the federal highway police, led by a Bolsonaro supporter who's like an avid open Bolsonaro supporter, was stopping people from voting. And the army also was trying to divert people from voting. They were going into fucking public transportation where the poorest of the working class are utilizing to go and vote. And trying to get them to not vote for the criminal, Lula. And by the way, he still lost, so, you know, get fucked. R.I.P. Bozo. The faces of communism. Fucking terrifying. Trigger warning, bro. Stop. What is... here, let's finish this.
He's not the biggest thief that ever exist in Brazil.
It's very sad, in my opinion, to see Brazil in this state where we have to decide between two candidates that just make Brazil such a polarized country, inciting violence, extremes, and I think especially they don't represent any of the young population, right?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? Why is it so fucking devastating? I don't understand. What do you mean? Is she talking about Bolsonaro? How is she saying both sides on this? Also, holy fuck, dude. Western media find one non-white person in a Latin American country challenge, impossible difficulty, and make sure that that non-white person isn't the like fucking token Bolsonarista, okay? Holy fuck. They literally go to the heartland. They just straight up go to the heart of the fucking city and find the wealthiest, centrist, whitest fucking libs they possibly can, who have like gotten education in like liberal arts institutions in America, and then go back and they're like, yeah, my father, who owns like 8 fucking agricultural farms, is very upset right now with the way things are going, and I also have that same kind of resentment and animosity built into me because we recognize where we make our money. It was pretty sick when Bolsonaro made slavery legal, okay? It worked well for our agricultural output, none of which was going back to the Brazilian people who were starving, but it's cool, you know? So it's a real both sides kind of situation.
Any progress in the country. It's really very sad. So my vote is a vote of protest.
Amid such division, it was Lula who made it to the finish line first.
People here
That's
are
right,
shouting,
baby.
Lula has returned. Like him or loathe him, this is a historic moment for Brazil. 20 years after Lula.
No, o Lula bota o Bolsonaro pra mamar. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Vai dar PT, vai dar PT, vai dar. Bro, Lema, what are they doing? L is for Lula. It doesn't mean like you lost. When you throw up the L, you're saying it for Lula. Red is also the color of Lula's party and not Bolsonaro's. Like the liberals are also right wing. Most people don't understand these concepts because they're so fucking brain broken by American politics. But and this means Bolsonaro is gonna suck Lula's cock, right? Your Portuguese still sounds like an LA Chicano. Mamad, you forced his prison when he was about to win. Now he's back. And what's going to happen? This year, Lula will make Bolsonaro suck it. And yeah, like, despite Bolsonaro being a fascist, his party is the liberal party, for the record. Liberals are centrist at best, literally everywhere in the world, and people don't even realize. Yeah. So in many ways, in the United States of America, the Democratic Party being liberal is actually apt because it is a center-right party. It's true. But like liberals in other countries are openly center-right. Like everybody understands that that's not the only leftist option, okay? In other countries, when you are a leftist in other countries, you either join a socialist party, you join a labor party, you know what I mean? You join a communist party, depending on where you are in the world. You don't join the liberal party. The liberals, like the Lib Dems, for example, in the UK, are center-right. In classical liberal countries, liberals generally represent the status quo. I mean, they just... They only care about... Liberals care about private property above all else. And that's at the heart of capitalism. So they care about defending capitalism. And that's why liberals' anger towards people like Bolsonaro oftentimes come from not the leftist position, but a right-wing position, because they think that fascists are not able to maintain order under capitalism because they get too ahead of themselves and want to kill too many gay people. You know what I mean?
Arrume as malas dele e bota ele pra vazar. Tá na hora do Jair, tá na hora do Jair. Jair embora, arruma suas malas, tá no pé e vá-se embora. Tá na hora do Jair, tá na hora do Jair. É o quê? Jair embora, arruma suas malas, tá no pé e vá-se embora. Tá na hora do Jair, tá na hora do Jair. Jair embora.
Crazy that they're saying it's time for Jair when they should be saying it's time for the top of the hour ad break. You know what I mean? Because at the top of the hour, there's a 60-second ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you could do for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. 1 minute for now, 4 minutes tomorrow starting. That's right. Also, you can get gifted a sub. Dalden 710, thank you for the 5 get the subs, allowing 5 people to no longer see the ads. Here's the 1 minute ad break now. Boom. My dad is trying to tell me how Lula is doing so much bad after I used your talking point you said yesterday. Why does he look out of breath? Anyway. No memes actually go to Brazil. It's fun as fuck. I would. Especially now. I definitely would now. Anyway, let's move on. Bolsonaro voters pray as rival Lula wins Brazil's presidential runoff. Let's watch some fucking beautiful tears, dude.
Sobre o TSE, mas que o Senhor, meu Deus, possa colocar o teu anjo.
Keep crying, bitches.
Nós oramos nessa oportunidade para o Senhor, demônio. Porque cair em tentação, mas livrai-nos do mal. Porque teu é o reino. Lula, ladrão! Feita a vossa vontade, assim na terra como no céu.
Fascist audio, Omega lol. Why does this have the same energy as the megachurch Trump cult shit? Why do right-wingers always ride the fascist dick so hard? Bro, this is literally the exact same. The energy is the exact same as Trump supporters fucking crying that Trump lost the election to Brandon, because it is the exact same. Do you understand? The audience is the exact same. The messaging is the exact same. The fucking attitude is the exact same. If you looked at the demographic breakdown, you would literally probably find an identical demographic breakdown of, like, you know, a swath of the working poor who have been duped because of like anti-vaxxer conspiracies or anti-LGBT conspiracies, you know, that sort of shit. And then an overwhelming amount of like wealthy people. Here, look. Look at that. Yeah, there you go. There's functionally no difference between the two. Okay, look, I mean, literally, look at that. They're doing the same shit, dog. Because they are the same. It's the same picture. I really get pissed off as a Brazilian. It's really obvious as someone who follows international politics how our hogs are importing 100% of your brain rot here. Oh, dude. And they're using American applications. Like China, we talk about how China is like, by way of TikTok, breaking the brains of the American population, right? Okay, well, Facebook is doing that with WhatsApp everywhere on the fucking planet. We're doing infinitely worse than what China is doing with TikTok to America everywhere else with WhatsApp and misinformation. Everywhere around the fucking planet. Wherever you see these fucking pieces of shit prop up, crying because they can't, like, I don't know, murder trans people or some shit. Anyway, also, we got more information from the Bolsonaro crying hogs. It's Hogwatch time. Come to Brazil edition. Hogwatch, come to Brazil edition. Okay? Of course, they're saying, this is fraud. It's fraudulent.
Take a listen to some supporters from Bolsonaro's camp, where it was not so much of a celebration. Let's take a listen to those supporters of the incumbent President Jair Bolsonaro.
No movement for Lula exceeded 1 million people. Bolsonaro got 1.5 million on the streets here in Rio de Janeiro last year. This year it's also the same average. This is a fraud. And if we need to go to the army will have to intervene. Communism...
Yeah, they're calling for a fascist coup d'etat. They're calling for a fascist military dictatorship because that is far preferable in the eyes of, again, fucking fascists than what they believe is a communist rule that is going to happen. Your Portuguese-Brazilian accent is sick, dude. Thank you.
Will not come to Brazil.
Bolsonaro has his flaws like every man, like every human being has. These are the people who can no longer stand the Workers' Party. These are the people who can no longer stand robbery. And that's it. I wash my hands because I did my bit. I voted conscientiously. I voted knowing that above all, my Brazil cannot be led by a bandit.
Like, I don't understand. Why doesn't anybody be like, okay, what about Bolsonaro? You know what I mean? What about his corruption? How do you feel about that? Like, this motherfucker bought 51 properties in cash. Where did that come from? This motherfucker bought 51 properties in cash, dog. What happened there? You have an issue with that? He's going to be like, he's a man of God. He's a man of God, Bolsonaro. He deserves it. He deserves the 51 properties. I wish he was my landlord. Bro, celebrate any of these two winning is so garbage? Fuck off, bro. What do you mean it's garbage? Listen, bro, I'm pro Lula, okay? I'll say it.
Honestly, victory is when we win. He did not win. This was stolen. The truth is that everyone is disappointed. We were expecting it because of the Supreme Court we have. For sure it was stolen. I sincerely hope that we can reverse this somehow.
So, Tim, some pretty strong denial there coming from Bolsonaro's supporters. We still have not heard from the man himself. What do you make of that?
Well, 4 years ago when he won,
he was in jail, nice president. You dumb motherfuckers would be like, Nelson Mandela is a bad person, okay? You literally just turn off a part of your brain that completely forgets that, like, good people, innocent people get locked up all the time. Yeah, that Nelson Mandela guy, he's a fucking terrorist, you know? He is. He's a terrorist. That's what the government said at the time when they locked him up. MLK, also a terrorist. You know, he was doing a lot of racial agitation. We don't like that. Terrible criminal.
You couldn't stop him. He was going to rid the country of leftists. He was going to ride them out of town. He was going to put a stop to activism. It's when he won. When he lost, broke with protocol entirely. Nothing to say. Some might see that as a lack of class.
I don't think that's a lack of class. I think that's deliberate. It's not a lack of class. I think that's straight up fucking deliberate, okay? It's terrifying.
Will he challenge the results? It's a possibility. But one thing that was very quick, as soon as the result came in,
Bolsonaro supporters have absolutely no idea what to do because their master is quiet. They don't know if they should protest or just shut up. It's honestly funny to go outside here in Rio. Honestly, it's better that he's shutting the fuck up at this stage, though. Like, obviously, the best possible thing would be for Jair Bolsonaro to come out and be like, I'm actually dying. I'm going to the hospital for the 700th time, and this time, you know, it's a real whodunit. I'm dying, actually, and also I concede. Like, that would be the best possible outcome, okay? Which is not going to happen. But currently, as it stands, him coming out and being like, the election was stolen, like Donald Trump has done, okay? My wife left me, brother, and the election was stolen by fake communist Venezuelans or whatever the fuck he's going to say. And then that the streets should, you know, you should take to the streets and you know, kill Lula supporters or whatever the fuck is not going to be the best possible outcome here. It would be significantly worse. I know his wife legit left him. That wasn't a joke. I know. I am aware that Bolsonaro's wife literally said, R.I.P. Bozo. I heard Lula eats pussy 9 times a day. I'm leaving you. I've seen his fucking fat hog and how veiny and vascular his gigantic quads are. Bye-bye. She said those things. Well, she didn't say those things. I just tied a bunch of different, like, random conspiracy theories together. But she did unfollow him on Instagram. Also, another fun conspiracy from the election cycle in Brazil was when they were saying that Bolsonaro was actually a cuck and that there was this, like, sexy firefighter that Bolsonaro's wife was actually fucking, and that Bolsonaro's kids were literally friends with the firefighter who actually was fucking his wife, and that you know, they gave him like a bunch of weird. I think they like raised money for him or something. Well, we will never know because there's a lot of secrecy shit that Bolsonaro also did for his sons. There's an explanation for the Insta unfollow. Yeah, the firefighter was the father who stepped up. Apparently, Carlos Bolsonaro is to blame. He often controls his father's account and got in a fight with his stepmother, according to Metropolis. Stay tuned for more information on this important story. Jair Bolsonaro and Michelle Bolsonaro reportedly unfollowed each other on Instagram. I want to believe. Wait, that's not a joke, though. The firefighter story is real. I'm not even kidding about that. Dude, Brazilian politics is insane, bro. Like, the Bolsonaro's not a pedophile line was pretty funny when it came out. We covered it yesterday. But also, the Bolsonaro literally was like, his approval rating dipped when Brazilians were like, no shot, you let your wife get fucked by that guy? I remember at the time, people were fucking mad at him. Like, his own community was like kind of mad at him about that. They don't give a fuck if he like steals money and buys like 51 properties. They don't give a fuck if he's a fascist. But like, God forbid you let your wife get fucked by a firefighter. You're cuck-pilled. No shot. Here. God, I love Brazilian politics. Just like when you always say politics here is just like team sports as well. People love your candidate, and that's it. Bolsonaro could rape children in the middle of the street, and the hogs would love him no matter what. I mean, yeah, he literally said he would. He said he had good vibes with a 14-year-old, dude. He was like, I met a 14-year-old, and I thought she was sexy, and I asked her to take me to her house. Like, and people didn't fucking turn around and say that was bad. Yeah, the eating pussy 9 times a day was anti-Lula propaganda, which is weird. That was that is another thing, but I'm not kidding. Bolsonaro a couple weeks ago came out on a fucking Brazilian podcast and said, I was driving around in my little fucking Vespa and I saw a sexy ass 14-year-old girl and we hit it off. We had good chemistry. He said that. He literally said that. I'm not joking. And he was like, can I come to your house? And then he went to the house of the 14-year-old girl and saw a bunch of other, in his words, attractive 14-year-olds getting dressed up. And he asked them, why are you getting dressed up? And they said, well, we're getting dressed up because we're working. And he was like, why are you working on a Saturday? And then he implied that they were prostitutes that were sex trafficked, which is a wild story because turns out they weren't, okay? But also, not only that they weren't sex trafficked and they weren't doing prostitution, if that was the case, why the fuck wouldn't you, as the president, do something about it? Like, he was the president at the time. He's like, yeah, like, even if the story was real, okay, why would you say you were attracted to a 14-year-old? And then why wouldn't you actually, like, save these little girls from being sex trafficked? He was like, yeah, I didn't do anything. What could he do as the president? I don't know. Call the police? What he should have done is not try to fuck a 14-year-old, okay? That's what he should have done. Bolsonaro says he felt a spark with a 14 and 15-year-old girls, and video becomes ammunition for opponents. What he should have done instead is, like, not say that he had good chemistry with a 14-year-old who he followed to the house, okay? So he shouldn't have done that. And then lastly, you know, if there was actually, like, sex trafficking happening there, I don't know, maybe do something about it. You're the president. Lula explored the opponent's speech. Those of you who are mothers, those of you who are fathers, listen to what Bolsonaro said about 14-year-old girls. Says the 30-second piece produced by the PT campaign. He felt a spark with a 14-year-old girl. Is this the man who claims to defend the family? Which, by the way, how would you be able to call the police? They weren't they all defunded after those 2020 riots for BLM? Yeah. Bro, it's like Chris Hansen stuff. I just want to tell this miner how bad it is and save them. Yeah. He apparently had some cannibalism sound bites too. I didn't even know that. I'd eat an Indian. Rival sees on unearthed Bolsonaro cannibalism boast. I didn't even know about this one. I didn't even hear about this one. That's fucking wild. He says he went to Suracucu once, and then I started seeing Indian women passing. This guy got like 49% of the vote, okay? Like, millions of people voted for this guy. This shit came out and millions of people were like, that's me. I'm writing for that shit, okay? Understand how fucked up and how similar to the United States of America Brazil is. But in many ways, by the way, Indian is indigenous in this circumstance, okay? Carrying bananas, and an Indian guy passes by picking his teeth with a grass blade. I asked, what's going on? I saw a lot of people passing by. An Indian died, and they're cooking him. They cook Indians. It's their culture. The body. They put the body, but not to eat, right? To eat, yes. They cook it for 2-3 days and eat it with bananas. I wanted to see the Indian being cooked. Then he said, if you go, you'll have to eat. I said, I'll do it. He's always yelling. It's so weird. Like, he's always yelling. I said, I'll do it. Then the team, no one wanted to go. He said, come with me. But then the team said they didn't want to go because they'd eat an Indian. As for me, they didn't want to take me along, so I didn't go. I did the Indian, no problem whatsoever. It's their culture. I subjected myself to that, okay?
E eu me submeti àquilo.
I'm from India and this is not our culture. No, he's not talking. He's talking about indigenous people. By the way, this never happened. That's the funniest part about his stories is that, like, his stories are just fake or a complete bastardization of what has actually happened, okay? There's a video of Lula being homophobic, by the way. Search it up, fake news Andy. Damn, dude. That's crazy. Fucking got him, dude. Yeah, who do I think is more homophobic between Lula, a person who has campaigned on LGBT rights, versus Bolsonaro, a person who has fucking campaigned on murdering gay people? Who literally said he would fucking kill his son if his son was gay. Even though he himself is a cuck. And, you know, I wonder who is more homophobic. I wonder if this chatter cares about homophobia or is just simply trying to weaponize it in this circumstance. You dumb, stupid motherfucker. You stupid, absolute imbecile in your fucking dumb, fake woman sock account. Who are you fooling? The funniest part about Bolsonaro's lies, though, the funniest part about Bolsonaro's lies is that, like, they also make him look awful. Like, to anyone that's not completely fucking brainwashed, this Lula's video was in 2002, and he was homophobic, but it was one moment compared to all the many times Bolsonaro did it. Dude, why the fuck would I give a shit about what Lula said in 2002 when he's running on literally defending LGBT rights? Are you fucking insane? Why would I give a shit about his homophobia 20 fucking years ago in an out of context clip when half of you dumb motherfuckers weren't even born? When the guy he's running up against, when he's running for LGBT rights, the guy he's running against is literally so anti-LGBT that he's made it a permanent staple of his fucking campaign. I don't care. Oh yeah. Remember this? Wasn't Jair Bolsonaro straight up saying that he was going to kill Elliot Page before this is a pre-transition where he literally fucking said to his face like insane, bro. Dude, it's the funniest thing. It's the funniest thing to turn around and be like, "Hey, don't look at this. Don't look at the 100 times that Jair Bolsonaro has stared directly at the camera and gone, I don't like gay people. I would kill my son if he was gay." Like, he said that, okay? And think about the one time that we caught Lula being homophobic in 2002. Wait, I want to hear what that fucking dumb bitch has to say. Where is he? Where is that fucking alt account, that fake account? Did we ban him already? Because I want to listen to the fucking dude. The weirdos are getting so they're not as good. They used to be better at trolling. I'm gonna unban him. I want to hear what they have to say, Lake McGroove, before we ban him again. Because, like, oh shit, they already took down their fucking profile picture. Shut the fuck up. No way. Immediately change the alt account profile picture. Okay, they're probably gone. I'll ban them again. It's just like, I don't know. I just, they're not even trying at this point. Like, to look at someone like Lula and to look at someone like Bolsonaro and be like, man, what do you have to say about Lula's homophobia is such a funny fucking take. You're not even trying at that point. You're relying on other people not knowing anything about Brazilian politics. You're relying on me not being able to adequately address that because you think I don't know anything about Jair Bolsonaro, like, at all. They're both bad, but one is clearly worse. No, fuck no. I don't give a shit about some fucking politician who's currently running on a pro-LGBT campaign against the fucking psychopathic fascist who wants to melt trans people, okay? Because they said something out of context in 2002. I don't give a shit. Get the fuck out of here. There's no both sides in this circumstance. Why are narcos celebrating Lula winning? There's two different reasons. One, they're not. But two, if they are, like if they genuinely are, it's because they're poor. And they think that the favelas will be able to have food again. Because remember, some of the fucking narcos literally control entire territories, entire favelas that they take care of. They're people that they take care of. The video is most likely fake, though. Let's be real. There's no fucking shot. Someone was like, oh, this is all of our narcos that are, having so much fun because Lula is going to make crime legal or whatever. They do that every election. But yeah, narcos literally were maintaining COVID lockdown provisions inside of favelas when Bolsonaro wasn't. So if they are actually celebrating, they're probably celebrating that like it'll be easier to help some of their people survive now. Dude, this is so awesome. Anyway,
Presidents Macron, Biden, so many around the world were very swift to congratulate Lula and recognize his triumph as if they're welcoming Brazil back to the international community and giving credibility to this remarkable political comeback by Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva.
All right, Tim, we're going to let you head to bed. Thank you very much for staying up to bring us the latest on Brazil's election. That's France 24's Tim Vickery.
Truckers are blocking roads in 12 states and asking for a Bolsonaro-led coup. I love that. My brilliant truckers, baby. I'm standing in solidarity with my brilliant truckers, as always. The video is a commemoration of the victory from Flamengo, a soccer team that uses red and black on their shield. Thank God Bolsonaro's out, but you do know Lula is very corrupt, right? I do, and I like it. I love his corruption. I'm a fan. Bolsonaro, on the other hand, not corrupt. Lula, super corrupt. Yeah. Why was he let out of prison? Also because of corruption. Even more corruption. This time by Bolsonaro. Everyone's corrupt. Most Brazilians are brainwashed by media. They fucking witch hunt the hell out of PT, nonstop bashing on TV, radio, and internet. This is why most people come out and say stupid shit about Lula. His lawsuit was reversed because his judge was deemed biased. Moro was trained by the CIA. There's a lot of stuff about that on the internet. A lot of American chatters don't understand how corruption is endemic to the developing world, mostly through lobbying and kickbacks. It's mostly through lobbying and kickbacks or just selling assets to the state for peanuts for personal financial gain. Yeah. I don't know about Moro being trained by the CIA or whatever. That's Emma's main account, Lamau. She used the stock after you sniped it and came back on main. It was released due to formal mistakes. Doesn't add to his credibility. Brother, he has culpability within what his party was doing. Okay? He has culpability within what his party was doing, certainly. But the notion that he is like the singular force of corruption within his party is psychotic. Okay? The reason why he was let out is because what the association that they had with tying him to the petroleum company's bribery scandal was faulty at best. That's the reason why they fucking released him. And the prosecutors and the judge were openly colluding. Like, it's not like this is not out there, man. That's crazy. Like, Glenn Greenwald's last good work was this, okay? Investigating and uncovering the genuine open corruption between the judge and prosecution in the Lula arrest. Anyway, here, let's listen to Michael Brooks.
I'm not saying to talk necessarily about President Lula to average swing voters. That guy, but that being said, no, but honestly, you know what's funny is that I know people through covering him, a former president of Brazil and political prisoner, guys come up to me at live shows who are like, you know, I mean, look, they're into my show, so they're into politics, but they're definitely not part of any type of college, academic, whatever. That guy's cool. I follow him on Instagram. The pictures of him playing soccer are awesome. You read his interview, you watch my interview with him, he's talking about how people buy beer. I had a program so people could get, you know, buy a cup of coffee. When they buy coffee, they, you know, I'm not doing it justice, but he's speaking, and I think that's another thing. You're talking about somebody who rose up from being impoverished, illiterate metal worker who lost a finger, never went to college, and then became the most popular and effective president in Brazil's history, and is brilliant statesman. He wasn't trained in one of these institutions. Now, it's not black or white. Of course, people come out of these institutions who are great leadership, and we're not trying to demonize college, but no, don't embrace being part of a subculture, and make a distinction between substantive rights and commitments, which are non-negotiable, and cultural practices and preferences, which just reflect your cultural training and class position, have no substance, and are probably mostly annoying.
Since you mentioned Lula, so just so everyone knows, because I know not everyone studies Latin America, like Lula, as Michael said, was the president from 2002 to 2010, Brazil. As you said, widely considered one of the best, if not the best, most effective presidents in Brazil's history. But I was just curious to get...
Rest in peace to Michael Brooks. Gone too soon, unfortunately. Good friend of mine. He was a big Lula advocate, and luckily was able to interview him when Lula was released from prison.
Get your thoughts on the left swept to power in Latin America from the late 1990s through the first decade of the 2000s. And the left took different forms, and some commentators divided it into like the radical leftists, and Chavez sort of represented the radical leftists, and then the moderate leftists, and Lula was really kind of like the equivalent of Chavez on the other side. Like he was considered a very moderate leftist, and famously, wrote a letter to investors in the lead up to the 2002 election saying, "I'm not going to mess with, our relatively orthodox fiscal and monetary policy." Right. And he lifted a lot of people out of poverty, but that was through It wasn't by dismantling capitalist structures as much as it was skimming some wealth off the top and distributing a lot of it to the poorest 20%. So my question to you is like, what was your position on those debates? Because Lula drew some fire from people on the left in Brazil and international commentators for kind of selling out the PT's socialism of yesteryear, because it used to be a more radical left-wing.
Right. So I think that it's a dialectic, because I think on one hand, I have very little patience for, it kind of relates back to his question. Like, a lot of the critique that came against Lula was people who were not doing anything, right? Like, there was that element of, well, 40 million people are getting lifted out of poverty, but I don't like X, Y, and Z. Well, all these incredible accomplishments are happening, but I don't like X, Y, and Z. Now, I think Lula, I think he's objectively the best president of the 21st century, and I also think even just in terms of what he did on foreign policy, given Brazil is a mid-ranked country, is extraordinary. I obviously also think Chavez was a great president, absolutely. But I also think that the lesson, particularly of a place like Lula, should be very sobering for people on both sides of that equation. Because, like my friend Bhaskar Sunkara, who founded Jacobin, this dog is amazing. It is, hi!
Just doesn't care.
How you doing? That's why she's so cool. He said, he became a Marxist because of his conservative, he's like, by temperament, I wish that a social democratic model would work. But the way capitalism works, it never seems to be durable. So, yes, you had a presidency that lifted tens of millions out of poverty. The economy did great. Things worked very well. He acquiesced to all sorts of problems. I mean, he's been really upfront. He basically was like, look, by the time I was becoming president, I wanted to get rid of hunger in this country, period. And I was willing to negotiate other things. And he did. He got rid of hunger. So when you look at it and you see the success and you see the model that was created and the fact that there was still this backlash from the U.S. foreign policy because they wouldn't privatize Petrobras, which is their state oil company, and you look at the wealthy in Brazil, who clearly, as Lula said to me in the interview, he said, poor people could fly when I became president. And you would hear people in Rio de Janeiro go, the airports look like bus stations. That level of social entitlement and resentment, as well as the fact that I don't know if that model, as again, the capitalist pie shrinks, is replicatable. Lula himself says, we were talking about Uber, he's like, yeah, it's a different set of challenges. I would be a more radical president today. And not because it's interesting, his instincts are really, he's a labor negotiator. He really believes in legit, you get everybody and you sit down and you figure it out. He said it, he's like, my politics are more like German labor, whatever. But it doesn't work. And then frankly, you look at Venezuela, which is a whole other thing, but I will just say, there's valid criticisms there, but there's also the fact that people repeat a lot of cliches that are not substantiated, and they also, if your prime concern is lifting people out of poverty, which is mine, they lifted millions out of poverty. And if I'm Maduro, and I'm getting sanctimonious lectures about my relationship with the military, I would say, but why is it somehow that I've still survived in power, even as the U.S. has tried to dislodge me every single day? And people like Lula and even Morales, this whole idea that Morales was some autocrat, ridiculous, knocked out. So Lula, it's a tremendous tragedy, because if there was even just a willingness for policymakers and capital to say, Brazil can have a new deal, we could have a very nice model, but that apparently is not agreeable to them. So I don't like that the left moralized them and undermined their achievements and demanded, well, why isn't Lula doing what,
By the way, this is at the foundation of critical support. What he is doing here is still maintaining the position that yes, a lot of these leaders are not infallible and they do a lot of fucked up things and a lot of morally unjust things. Not talking about Lula here, but definitely talking about Maduro. But ultimately, his power remains unchallenged because of the oppressive ways in which he has maintained his position of power, but then simultaneously pointing to the likes of Morales and Lula, people who definitely were not anywhere near using like autocratic power to control autocratic power to control authoritarian power to control his population against multiple coup attempts and against like civilian uprisings. And look at where they're at now. Well, this is an old interview. Lula is now free and now the president. But yeah, that's kind of what happens. I'm Venezuelan and pro Lula, but hearing someone be pro Chavez and pro Maduro is too tough. I don't think he's pro Maduro necessarily. He's definitely unconditionally pro Chavez, though. Yeah, the Lula thanking Brooks tweet. There you go. This year I met this young American, a journalist who turned out to be a friend, who I thought that we would meet again. How is it possible? My heart and prayers go to his family and friends. May his passion for social justice be remembered and inspire people around the world. This is after Michael Brooks' untimely passing. Anyway. What's up? All right, Austin's heading out. Okay. We're going to move on to some more morbid news now. We're going to talk about South Korea.